Hey friends, so here it is. A few of you have asked for a what's in my camera bag video, and I decided to start kind of going through my stuff and figuring out what I was going to show you. And just the process of making this video has shown me that I have way too much stuff. I'm kind of a multifaceted photographer. I've done my old rusty car stuff, I've done landscape stuff, I do the odd portrait shoot, I do the odd like location portrait shoot, technically not portraits, but you know, people out in locations. I'll put a few of those examples here. In the process of making this video, I realized that I have to break it into like 3 parts. So this video might get a little long, a little techie, a little nerdy, but this is basically what I use for various aspects of my visual content creation. So I've broken it into 3 categories. One is photos, so that's going to be anything stills, my rusty car stuff, landscape stuff, the portrait stuff, everything else that I create as a photograph. The second category is going to be video. So basically, what do I use to make my videos? And the third category I'm throwing in here, it will be a kind of a shorter category, I imagine, is basically lighting that I still carry around with me. Now, I'll get into different specifics as we go, but yeah, I guess let's dive in and go through this stuff. But before we do that, I want to make sure that you guys know that I'm working with what I have. I have technically not really bought anything new since 2016. Now, you guys may or may not watch different video creators on YouTube that do reviews and or, you know, create cinematic content all the time. I'm jealous of those guys because of the gear they have. Most of those guys are not living in an RV either. So that said, keep in mind that this stuff is old. I'm doing what I can with what I have. And by no means do I think everybody needs the most latest and greatest. And that's one thing that I actually kind of realized going through this gear is everything that I have, I can still create with, even though it's 5 years old. So, yeah. All right. So, I guess let's get started in this crazy little makeshift studio. This is my nephew's old room, by the way. This is where I've been all winter. I kind of cleaned it up and fixed it up a little bit behind me just to get through this. I'm going to be making a couple of videos here. So, let's get started. All right. First things first, the bag. This is I don't know, kind of a no-name Quantum Pro bag. It's done me well. I wore out the tripod pocket a long time ago, but it's got lots of pockets, that kind of thing. Filters and stuff in here. I'm not going to get into the fine specifics, but you'll get the gist. If you have any particular questions, be sure to just ask, and I'll touch on them in a future video. But first things first, let's get in here. So this is my main stills camera. And this is my D800. I bought this in 2013. 2014, April 2014, I think. Right now on the body is the Nikon 24-70 2.8. The reason I bought the D800 is for the megapixels. Because for landscape photography and that kind of thing, I wanted that extra room to either A, crop, or B, if I got the shot totally 100% in camera, then I had that extra room to basically blow up prints as large as I want. And I do offer some pretty large prints on my website. So main lens, the one that's always on here, is the 24-70 2.8. But then I went and got this bad boy, and this is the 14 to 24 2.8. Now, you Nikon users, if you're out there and watching this, you'll probably know that these lenses, with the third one, which is 70 to 200 2.8. Now, these three lenses are technically known as, I might want to add too that these are the VR lenses. They're the newer version. Well, newer as of 2015, 2016. But these three lenses, the 14 to 24, 24 to 70, and 70 to 200, are technically known as the Nikon Trinity. Basically, if you hear that term, that's what they are. It's just these three lenses, the 2.8 versions, VR, older versions are just as good as far as I know. So let's put these back in here to make some room. And next is the 85 millimeter 1.8. I picked this up somewhere along the way. It was used. Somebody had it on sale. It's a good little lens. I like using it actually for portraits once in a while, like close-up face kind of stuff. And then the only other lens I have, 50 millimeter 1.4. Couldn't remember if it was 1.8 or a 1.4, but yeah, it's 50 millimeter 1.4. And I actually had an idea a long time ago that maybe I'll revisit, called 50 millimeter Fridays. And that's basically where I shoot whatever I can on a Friday with this lens and nothing more. The thing about 50 millimeter is, technically, for those people who aren't really camera people, 50 millimeter is what your eye sees, right? It's, you know, kind of like that visual plane. Rollins is in the back sniffing the blanket, so if you hear these, that's what that is. Anyways, but yeah, what I was getting at with this is if you're using a lens like this, it makes you move your feet, because if you want to get close, you got to get closer. If you want to back up, you got to back up. Like, there's no zoom, there's nothing like that. So it makes kind of the process of photography a little different for you, and sometimes that can lead to different creative ideas. And of course, you just got extra batteries. I do have, in case you noticed on here, this little gadget on the front here. I don't know if you see that. And get the focus off of me and onto it. Basically, if you see this, this is the receiver end of my remote, which is in here. Who makes this? SMDV. I got some of this stuff on Amazon back in the day. I'll try and find things and put links in the description when I post this, but yeah. So here's the remote. This kind of comes on a lanyard. It's got a protector so that if you're doing something with bulb, you can actually press it down and then close it so that it's on bulb until you unclose it. So it's kind of neat that way. It's a little glitchy once in a while, but for the most part, has done me well. And in case you're wondering what a remote's good for, if you're out doing like star stuff or long exposure stuff, you don't want to be touching the camera while you're shooting, because it will give it a little shake. Even the slightest touch will give you a vibration, especially if you're using a long lens. A couple filters. I think this is an ND filter and circular polarizer filter. I don't use them all that often, but they're there when I need them. The polarizer is good on bright sunny days, cuts the glare off the water, that kind of thing. And then this is actually the trigger that I use for my lighting. I have other things that we'll talk about later, but basically this is one of the triggers that I use more so than the other, so it's always in here. Extra cards, 2 of them are over by my Mac. Give or take, that's my main photo camera. That's the workhorse, the bad boy, the big kahuna. All right, now riding shotgun to the D800 is my old camera, this old D200. Now, I kept this basically strictly as a backup. I barely ever use it, although I have set it up with a trigger trap, which is an app and a cord that came out quite a while ago. I'm not sure if they're even still kind of relevant or even going anymore, but it allows to kind of taps into the what's that word? Intervalometer of the camera, and basically gives you more features via the trigger trap. Like you can actually do, like take shots based on sound. So, if you clap your hands, it snaps a picture, that kind of thing. Like there's all these different weird things on the app, but I wanted it just because it was a little more elaborate in the time-lapse stuff that it takes, but I haven't really used it all that much. But anyways, this is a DX crop camera. It's a deluxe lenses. The D800 is full frame, which is why I upgraded to it. Again, size-wise for my pictures, better quality, better glass, that kind of thing. That doesn't mean you can't take good pictures with this. I'm actually thinking about making a video where I bring this bad boy out and see what we can do, and see if what I create with this is still relevant amongst all the crazy gear that's out there. We'll see. On here is an 18-105 that I picked up after owning it for a while. It came with this lens, which was 18-70. This is a VR lens, but it's a DX lens. This is a VR lens. This is a Tamron 70-300. I don't actually use zooms all that much. This has a little macro thing on it that's kind of nice. So if you're far enough back, you can actually use the macro in it. Again, I'm not a tech guy. I'm I don't know all the ins and outs of all this stuff. Like some of these guys who spend hours reviewing these things. I just couldn't do it. I don't have the patience. This is a fun little lens. I used this a bit back in the day. Not so much now. It got dropped. Yeah. This is the one. I think this is the one I dropped off of a second floor of a ferry, and it hit I was switching lenses, and it slipped out of my hand, and it fell and hit a guy on a shoulder who was down on the lower deck, and then bounced on the floor. But it didn't quite go off into the water, which was kind of a blessing in disguise. It still works. It's just sometimes it glitches out trying to focus, but other than that, it still works. Like I said, I don't use it very much. That's a 10.5 fisheye in there. So, and again, same thing. Got a few filters in here. Got a few filters in the pocket. Again, circular polarizer. A bunch of extra batteries. Give or take some gadgets here and there. But that's it. That's my backup. I went through these batteries, and actually they were all dead except for one, because they're old, not holding a charge. It's in the camera right now. But yeah, it still works. Like I said, we'll see what we can create with it maybe a little later on, because I got new things coming. New things happening, I mean. Okay. Next up, what do I put these on? Now, way back, I might be aging myself here, but anyway, about this Manfrotto. Now, this thing, I don't know, I should get a scale. I don't know. This is technically a studio tripod, is what they called it, but it's heavy duty. I can put this up and put a camera on it, and, like 50 mile an hour winds. It's not going anywhere, because this thing is so heavy. But the funny thing is I'm actually used to it, and I carry it. Like I just grab one of these legs like that, and I carry it around with me most of the time when I'm like actually shooting serious stills. If I see an old car in a field, this and my main bag with my D800 go in it, and we, go for a hike. It's getting a little long in the tooth though. One of these things, a friend of mine was helping me pack up one day and snap this little thing off. I should look on Amazon and see. Might be able to find another one. But, so it's a bit of pain in the ass because it still works though. Like, I can still, like once it's on and, it's not going nowhere. It's this one. I have to remember, I should actually mark it. See, all these things I think of, like as I'm talking to you, that I should have been doing years ago. I should mark it so I know which one it is so that when I open it, I'm careful because I've dropped it a few times. Anyway, big old Manfrotto 141 RC head with like the three things. It's not a ball head. It's just like up, down, fun times. And of course, the pinch my fingers, quick release. And shortly after that, I bought this, which is a monopod. So that's just the one leg. But I never got a ball head for it. And when you're using a monopod, the last thing you're kind of going to do is use a head like this. So I never really started using this that much. That said, this is going to be repurposed. Stay tuned for the next couple of videos because you'll see why. So, last but not least in the stills department, this bag. What's in this bag? Well, let me tell you a story. Back in 2006, 2005, I went down to Ridgecrest, California for a light painting workshop with a fellow who is pretty popular online. He's kind of the godfather or the grandfather of light painting, the way we kind of know it now. Mr. Troy Pava, so there's a shout out for him. Basically, I went, it was him and another guy, Joe, I can't remember Joe's last name. Anyways, went down there, the two of them were putting on a workshop, and I went down there, met some other photographers, and we had access to the Pearsonville Junkyard, which is just outside of Ridgecrest, California. Was just outside of Ridgecrest, California. And this junkyard had been there quite a while. Like there used to be like an old racetrack and that kind of thing. It was really cool. And we went out there on a weekend during the full moon. So it was like the day before the full moon, and then the day after. And Troy showed us how to shoot in the moonlight and paint old cars. I'll put a few of those photos up here. But back in the day, there wasn't these, what are they called now? They're proto machines or something. They're, again, I'm getting old. I'll post the name of those machines just in case you want to look. But they have like these like LED multicolored gun things that you can light paint with now. Back in the day, we didn't have that. So technically, when I do any light painting, I'm old school. Because I was a musician for a long time, I have friends in production companies who put colored gels. There you go. Get the light in there. They put colored gels over top of the big cam lights for rock shows and that kind of thing. And even those are going by the wayside these days. But I got them to save a bunch of scraps for me. So I got orange and blue, and, like an odd pink and red and purple, and and I've labeled them so that I can kind of see them in the moonlight, what color they are, because you're looking at this on the ground and you're like, okay, I don't know what color that is. So you label them. But what you do, okay, so we have these, but then back then, flashlight. Like literally, you go up, you got the flashlight off, and your exposure is so long, like you're doing 3.5, 4 minute exposures, and you go up and I'm like, okay, well, I want the inside of this car to be pink. Well, you get in the back window and you kind of angle it so that you can't see the camera, because if you can't see the camera, then the camera can't see like the light source, so it's not going to have that bright spot in it. And then you paint inside the car. Just kind of do that. Right? But the thing is back then you had to kind of go, okay, well, how bright a flashlight do I need? How bright of a flashlight do I need? How big of a flashlight do I need? No batteries in that one. Oh, I want to paint headlights. Okay. Little trick. If you're new and you want to try this, get yourself a black hoodie, right? You walk up. It's kind of hard to do on the camera, but you walk up and you kind of go, and then just reveal the light and then block it again. Click it off. But if you keep your hand, like the sleeve of your hood, pull the sleeve of your hoodie down so that you can't see your hand, because especially pointing it into a headlight on an old car, especially, they're just those round silver globes inside, right? Half globes. So what happens? You put your hand out like this, and you click the light on. The light goes into the flashlight or into the headlight and comes back, illuminating your hand. Well, now your shot's ruined because all of a sudden there's this ghosty hand in there. Whereas if you wear the hoodie and try and keep, you know, everything kind of inside, just inside the sleeve of the hoodie, you can paint and it's not going to flash back onto your hoodie. Or it does, but the hoodie soaks up the light. It's not as reflective as your hand is. So yeah, bag of flashlights and my crazy folder of gels. And all this stuff that I'm showing you basically has a spot in the truck. Camera bags go on top of everything because they also go inside with me at night. And I'll pull this up off camera in a second. But yeah, that's my stills. That's what I use for stills. Landscape stuff, the old car stuff. Once in a while I will use some off-camera lighting, which I'll show you last. But essentially, you're looking at what everything I use on a more regular basis. The other stuff is kind of like, you know, maybe a 10% of my shoots, shots, things that I do are done with the lighting and that kind of stuff. The rest is more or less this stuff. All right, next up is the video portion of my what's in my camera bag. See, I can't even call this what's in my camera bag. It's like I'm just gonna call it camera gear. How about that, right? So most of my videos so far, against the better judgment of so many video creators out there, yep, not even a new GoPro, a GoPro Hero Silver. It was new in 2016, 2015, but you know, that's what I use. That's what I've been using. I also use some video on my D800, 30 frames per second, 1080p, that kind of thing. I usually put the GoPro on this, which I purchased shortly after. And it's a gimbal. I don't remember who, Fiotech gimbal. It's weird, I research the crap out of things, then I buy them, and then I forget what they're called. This is a G5 Fiotech. It's not a bad gimbal. I've had some problems with it drifting. So basically, it doesn't keep the horizon totally straight. It will kind of, you know, do this. Because I export my videos at 1080p, the GoPro shoots at 2K, so I can correct it and not lose too much picture, because I mean the GoPros are wide and stuff too, so a lot of times I'm cropping in a little bit and that kind of thing anyway. But definitely a handy tool to have as a gimbal. It keeps things much smoother. You look a little more professional and it's easier to watch. I've watched some videos, I can't remember who recommended a video. I watched a video of a couple out in the woods. You know, they were living off grid or whatever, and the guy, like no word of a lie, was just like getting out of a van, and it takes a lot to make me nauseous. but his videos killed me. So your standard stuff, little gorilla pod. This one's getting old. It's not as tight in the legs there. What else we got in here? Just your standard GoPro goodies. I got a lav mic. This is from a Purple. It's called a Purple mic. Again, researched it, had good reviews, bought it. Where's the little bag? There's a little bag in there. Purple Panda. Just a little lav mic. It's my favorite. I have a couple other ones that I tried that weren't as good. Cheap ones. All the stuff's pretty cheap. Like, that's the thing. I've always been on a like serious budget. After, for lack of a better word, blowing my wad on the D800 back in the day, because that's what I was taking seriously, was my stills. So when it came to video, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I should start making some videos. Don't know what to do. Like, what the hell am I doing? So I just kind of, I didn't go as cheaply as possible, but I went pretty cheap. So lav mic, gimbal, GoPro Hero 4 silver, because I like to see in the screen on the back, but I mean that doesn't help when you're staring at the front. And gadgets, nothing in particular, just mic and that kind of thing. Now, something I use once in a blue moon when I'm using the D800 is this. I keep it in the box. Tac Star, again, kind of a no-name, cheap, but had good reviews and does fairly well. Shotgun mic, dead cat for the wind. That's what they call them. And then it comes with the foamy. It hasn't been bad. I've used it on the, it's got adjustments for like noise reduction and input. Sits on top. It's done well. For how much I've used it. I mean, I don't use this stuff. Some of this stuff doesn't get used a lot. I pull it out when I'm like kind of focused and not running and gunning. Most of my videos, as you may know, are kind of running and gunning through some weird quirky spot. And I'm not going to set up like a full-on, studio setup while you're looking at Roy's motel on Route 66. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, that's kind of the GoPro stuff. I bought this thing, again, on Amazon. I saw a couple people using them in a video. I think I used it once. Basically, you put a camera on it. Like, I could put the D800 on here in video mode and, kind of do the briefcase mode, low, if you're shooting skateboarders or whatever, that kind of thing. Again, didn't really use it much. This is the first Beast Grip. Now, Beast Grip, if you don't know, are a company that basically makes these things for iPhones. Well, mobile phones. I thought it was ingenious. It's basically you put your phone in here. Where's the camera? And then you line, slide it along. Line up the camera so the lens is poking through that hole. And now, you kind of got a double grip thing with your fingers. Well, if you do it properly. if you do it properly, you got a double grip thing with your fingers out of the way. And Beast Grip has this thing now. Well, they did back then, obviously, because I bought one. But they have different lens kits and all that kind of thing. So this is a super wide macro lens, I think. The thing with these is you can get just the grip so that you can, hold the phone. But you can also get this, which is, they got tons of other options, but this is a wide angle macro lens. Again, I don't use this a whole lot because I don't shoot with the iPhone much, and usually when I'm shooting with the iPhone it's because it just happens to be something that kind of popped up and I didn't have my cameras with me or out or something like that. as an example, I don't know if you guys saw that, but the video of Rollins with his fence post at Severn Dam, totally, just totally shot that on my iPhone because we were out for a walk. I wasn't expecting to be doing any video, and all of a sudden he finds this fence post in the woods. I'll put a little bit of that over top of this as I'm babbling, but you know, he found the fence post and it had to be recorded. So okay, so next up in the video arsenal, I'm sure a few of you know what's in here. The DJI Phantom 3 standard. Oops, I blocked my own light. Oh well. Okay, let's just put this back here. There we go. So yeah, your standard drone, battery, controller. The sad part about this is the more, I don't remember what's in here. Cleaning cloth. Again, don't drink an Amazon shop. I have ND filters for this thing. I didn't even know I had them. Probably was watching YouTube videos and somebody said, oh, I need an ND filter after a couple of bourbons. And yeah, went and go shopping. Yeah, just your standard BS. All the things for drones. Whoa, what was I getting at? Oh, the sad part about this though is, well, apparently I did use one. Okay. I think it might be time to talk to somebody, Wayne. Anyway. I actually don't drink that much. I haven't had a shot of bourbon in at least 2 months. Had a few beer here and there, but anyway, your standard drone. But what I was getting at is, at this point in time, in April 2021, I'm getting more and more and more and more and more and more nervous. More nervous flying this thing. There's part of me that thinks I should put it up for sale, see if I see whatever I get, whatever I can for it, and then put that towards DJI Mini 2, because at least those are under the, was it 250 grams? But the other part of me thinks that if I'm going to want to fly a drone that much anymore, going through the process of getting certified in Canada. I'm not even sure if a Canadian can do it, but also when I'm down in the States, because you actually have to go in to write the test, but next time I'm down in the States, study for it and go in and do the Part 107 in the States, which is like via the FAA, right? And even up here, it's like Transport Canada. There's a basic and an advanced. The problem is even with the DJI Mini 2, it's technically a hobbyist drone because it's small and it's under that 250 gram limit. Anything over 250 grams you have to be licensed for now, basically. Like if I put this up in the air tomorrow, I could literally get in deep shit if somebody found me. But so there's that part of me that, you know, do you risk it? I'm not an idiot with this thing, you know, like I don't fly it all over the place and over people and that kind of thing. And even a little one, I'm not going to be any more reckless with it. That said, I also don't want a $20,000 fine or whatever they end up might being. So I'm trying to decide what my drone future looks like as far as that goes. But for now, this is what I got. This is what I've been using. I'd like to fly it more, but I'm getting apprehensive about using it at all. So I have to figure out which path I'm going to take when it comes to drones. And lastly is nothing more. Again, a little Amazon purchase, a little dusty. Little cheap Campark 4K dash cam. They say they're 4K, but not sure. I think it was like 70 bucks or something. I never had a dash cam, like actual dash cam before this. I had a, what do they call them, a JC cam. It was a JC cam 5000 or something. And it was a good little cam. It's basically a GoPro spin-off, you know, and it was only, again, 60 bucks or something when I bought it back in 2015, 2016. But it was a good little camera, and a lot of times I just stick it in the window, and it stayed in the window. And I just popped the card in and out, you know. So anytime that I was like coming up or, you know, on a cool road or just wanted some road footage for, you know, some of my earlier videos, I just turned it on and it, you know, did a little chime thing and bada boom, bada bing, and it's filming out the windshield because I had it on the suction cup mount, you know, and it worked great. And then one day it got too hot and the battery went inside it, and like literally like the whole camera was like this bulbous thing waiting to explode. So it didn't turn on after that either. So 60 bucks, it's gone. And then that's when I started looking for a replacement and actually got a real dash cam for the truck. Now, as far as video goes, that's pretty much it. I don't carry any extra video lighting. Even right now, I'm using this little lamp over here, which gives me a little bit of warmer light. And then this thing is like this LED table desk lamp thing. Again, I'm in a very, very rudimentary makeshift studio to show you guys this. This is just this room, when my sister moved in here, was the guy that built this room or whatever, and this desk and stuff was a draftsman. So, you know, he had his drafting desk and stuff set up here. There's all these extra shelves, and like underneath the desk, there's these long, like narrow shelves for his, you know, drafts and that kind of thing, and it's still up here. So basically, you know, Styles used it. This desk is a mirror of the other one across, like on the other side of the room over here, that the iMac's actually sitting on, with the fireplace going, because I tried to, you know, jazz it up a little. Yeah, he had his bed on the other one, and then this one was his desk kind of deal. But yeah, it's been a cozy little room for the winter. So next up, tired yet? So next up is lighting. Now, what do we use lighting for? I'll show you a few examples as I'm going of where I've used it. It doesn't happen very often, other than the light painting stuff, which is totally different. Then I'll show you some other things that we'll get into in a second. All right, so as we go, keep in mind that all this stuff goes on some sort of stand. Now I have two heavy-duty C-stands. The feet are actually in this bin, but the stands themselves I left in the truck. I don't use them very often. They're in behind the back seat of the truck. I also have some thinner, lightweight stands that I also use, and we'll touch on those in a second. But first, what do I use lighting for? Portraits, pictures of people. I've used them in my Photos Forward project, which didn't really take off. I keep updating it when I remember to on where I'm at, but it's just not one of those things that gets any traffic, so people don't notice it. It's kind of one of the things that I tried starting to give back a little bit. But I ended up getting gear for it, as well as Burning Man. So I'm just going to touch on Burning Man for a second, because if I go down that rabbit hole, we'll be here all night. Burning Man has, among other things, a really cool art and music festival in the desert of Nevada every August. There's no rules, but there's principles, and one of the principles is gifting. So the very first year that I went, I was trying to figure out what I could gift. And I decided that I would gift people portraits that they could then download once we got it back home, because I wasn't going to edit them in the desert, but I'd, you know, take their portrait in the desert, edit it when they got home, put them online, they can find them. Just, you know, no charge, nothing like that, just, you know, my gift to them, of a picture of them at the burn, so they can remember their burn. Now, how did I do that? With the help of another guy, hi Jeremy, I built a photo cart that the first year was kind of painted, you know, kind of steampunkish, almost old carnival-ish, and then I changed it to like the theme of Burning Man had changed, so I changed it to kind of match the theme, which was like a little alien-esque. Painted the cart silver with some green and that kind of thing. And anyways, actually I'll post a picture of the cart here so you can see what I'm talking about. The stands that are used on that cart are the top half of these stands that I use with this lighting kit. So this, I got this at Strobe Pro in Calgary. It's a Discovery 600 by Strobe Pro. So this is a battery bank. So I don't know if you can see this right here. So you have your two inputs where you plug in your lights. So it's a dual light. There's a A light and a B light. It's got a remote and your buttons to, you know, like you can up and down your, like how bright, how much power you're putting to the lights, as well as dial in your frequency, so that if there's other frequencies in that you're competing with to trigger the lights, you can actually change the frequency, that kind of thing. 600 watts. This thing is a beast. Again, I've taken this to Burning Man 5 times and taken portraits out in the desert in like, you know, 90, 100 degree heat in the sun. I throw this in the cart. It gets all dusty. Like if you've seen any pictures of Burning Man, you know about the dust. Gets all dusty. Never failed me once. So there's one of your cords plugs into there. I have an extender so I can have one light close and then extend the other one further. This is a charge to charge the battery bank. So there's one cord. So I have 3 of these. So one doubles up and then the other one is good. And I also have 3 of these. So with these, that's a little protector cap. There's the bulb. Again, 5 years of Burning Man in the dust. These things are covered in dust when I'm done. Bulbs, never had a problem with the bulbs. Never had a problem with these. So these go on top of a stand. You can put your umbrella. If you're just shooting with an umbrella, you can put an umbrella through here. But what I use, there we go. I'll show you. So I have 3 of these. I take 2 of them to Burning Man every year, and the third one stays in a bin as a backup in case I do blow one, which I haven't. And then here's my secondary or my backup trigger. So this is just like the trigger I showed you in my D800 bag. I should probably take the battery out of this. But basically you find the frequency, match it up with this, put this on your camera, and this will pop your flashes remotely. So on top of that light, where that protector goes in, those notches, well, we have these notches. I don't know if you can see those, but there's basically 3 little nubs on here. They notch in, you turn it, clamps into the front of that light, and that's your diffuser. Now, usually I'm just using them more or less like this, but in a studio situation or sometimes on a different location shoot, you might want to diffuse it. So you get a shower cap. It's not really a shower cap, it's actually made for this. It's the right size, but yeah, this could take me all night. Bada boom. Now you're extra diffused and the lights, you know, flashing inside and then reflecting into the bowl, and the whole bowl is lighting up this, which gives you a nice soft light. and that's what I use. I have 2 of these, and once in a while, I actually have one in my, I totally forgot about that actually. I actually have one in my D800 bag as well, in the back compartment that's usually reserved for laptops. But I've used this quite often. Ready? We're gonna get crazy. It's a reflector. So, with 2 of these lights and this big ass reflector, you can basically light anything and everything just by, reflecting the light that you have, reflecting the sun. Sometimes I don't even use these lights, I'll just use the reflector. Granted, that usually means you have to have an assistant or somebody to help you, but good thing to have. And like you saw, they just fold up real easy, and you put them back in the. Again, I'm out of practice. Give me a break. So yeah, there's another one of the lights. 3 of those, like I said, on the big C-stands. If I find a picture of a C-stand that I have, I'll just kind of post it on there so you know what I'm talking about. So next up is a certain kind of stand that I use when I don't want to use this big ass rig. This big ass rig is more for when I'm like actually, doing something serious and possibly professional kind of deal. That doesn't mean you need all this stuff to do professional work, because I'll show you in a second. I did a shoot with a girl in the Imperial Sand Dunes in California, close to the Arizona state line. I wanted some extra fill light. So I used my secondary lighting kit, I guess you would call it. You have a straight stand, it's got the 3 folding legs, and then some of them are 6 feet high, 7 feet high, and then I think you can get them up even at 9 feet high. On the top of that, you put this, top of the stand, put your trigger, and again, you might sense a reoccurring theme here. Cheap on Amazon. These are Young No triggers. Young No, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce it. So this goes on top of the stand. This is just your mount. And you put your trigger. Turn it on, because this is kind of underneath here. I don't have batteries in, so the light's not going to come on. Put your flash on top. And now you can adjust it. So on top of your stand, you can adjust it up, down. Oops. I have to tighten that. Anyways, you can adjust it up, down, that kind of thing. 2 of these and a Nikon flash that I got when I bought my camera. And to be honest, in the right situation, you can fight the sun with these things. So you can put the sun behind your subject and still fill them enough to, see the details in their faces and that kind of thing, and light them the way you want to light them. These are triggered, again, by that little thing. I found a way that you can dial in the same frequency. You can actually select frequencies here. There's tiny little knobs there. And you can change them to select a different frequency. Change the frequency on that other remote. That's the trigger that goes on top of your camera. And pop these off remotely. Now, if you want to get fancy with these, so as far as lighting goes, these are obviously way cheaper than this big bad boy and those big round lights and the strobes in my kit. I think these are like $85 a piece. Back then they were. But some people, okay, well, I have a flash, but I don't want that harsh flash look. I want to diffuse it. You can get soft boxes, you can get octa boxes, all that kind of thing that will even work into here. And this is just basically a fancy version of this. So this goes on top of your light stand here. Slide in your flash, pointing through the hole. You can slide an umbrella rod through there. So now you've got that umbrella that you've seen in, you know, the older 70s photo studios and that kind of thing. Still viable today. Or, I didn't bring my octabox in, but basically it's the same thing as that, you know, tin can diffuser, but it's a fold-up version. And it's got the white diffuser on the front. And now your flash is diffused. So if you want softer light, that's what what you're going for. And if you need harsher light for whatever reason, just go bare flash. You take the diffuser off that, put it up, bada boom. You got more light. And essentially, any of the pictures that I've shown you over top of me babbling have all been done with this gear. Some of it's a little more high end. I mean, the strobes that I got for my Burning Man cart and the Photos Forward project, that kit was about $1,600 for like 2 lights, the stands, and the battery pack and that kind of thing. That battery pack lasts a long time. I mean, I go out and shoot in the desert for what, 3-4 hours. You know, it's on the whole time, popping. And I'm like cranked. I got it cranked up because I haven't put the sun behind people, that kind of thing. Just like some of the pictures that I probably showed you over top already. But you know, and these, like I said, cheap. But be creative. Spend some time with it. Learn how to use it. You can do it. It's easy. That, my friends, more or less brings us to the end of this. And also brings me to the next little bit of information. If you're a savvy viewer, you might have noticed, okay, you just showed us your whole kit. What are you filming this video on? Well, Wayne went Amazon shopping again. And I upgraded the video portion of my kit that also has still photography potential as well. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but the next video I'm going to revert back to using this older gear to show you my newer gear. So that will be fun and interesting. Hopefully this video is okay. This is the first time I've used the new camera, but who knows? It's still new. I'm still learning the ins and outs of it. Hopefully it's kept its focus like it's supposed to. And yeah, we'll talk about it more in the next video. But more or less, that is everything that's in my camera bag, aka camera truck. Because obviously I'm not packing this around with me everywhere I go. This is stuff I have that I use when I need it. The minimalist guy in me is going, like when I brought all this stuff up the stairs, 2 flights of stairs to the loft room that I'm in. I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. There's just a couple bins, you know, my tripod, all this other stuff. And then I started going through it. And I'm like, okay, so when was the last time you used this, Wayne? When was the last time you used that, Wayne? When was the last time you used this, Wayne? And it just got to the point where there's a part of me that wants to get rid of so much of this stuff, but there's part of me that knows something will come along and I'll be able to pull it out and use it. And to be honest, like I was mentioning, a lot of it's fairly inexpensive. It's not cheap, but it's inexpensive. And being inexpensive, the resale value isn't going to be up there. And to be honest, a flash like this that I paid $85 for is probably going, the newer version is probably going for $75 on Amazon right now. I don't even know. I haven't looked. But it still works for me, so I'm going to still use it when I need it. And if this video doesn't basically scream it, I want everybody out there to know that, yeah, I can watch YouTube videos of, Peter and Maddie and, all these other guys reviewing gear I would love to have. But you don't need to go and spend $4,000 on a new camera. You don't need to. You can still buy used. You can still shoot with what you have. You can still do what you need to do to create. And I mean, if this isn't living proof, I mean, hell, I did. My videos especially, 1080p on a D800 that doesn't really even have really good focus tracking or anything like that. I mean, it's okay, but that and a GoPro and an iPhone is what I've made my first 152 videos with. Just get out there and do it. Don't let it stop you. And then when you become a crazy popular YouTuber, you'll be able to afford all the new fancy toys. And they'll probably get sent to you so you can review them. And as much as I like the idea of new fancy toys, I'm going to be pretty selective on what I review, because just going through the specs on the new gear that I bought so that I knew kind of what I was getting into, what I had, what I was, what I can compare it to, this versus that. I'm trading this versus that, whatever it might end up being. Just that stuff burned my brain, just fried my brain. But that's the thing. Those guys are good at it. I'm not. I'm the type of guy that listens to those guys to figure out what kind of gear is going to best work for what I need it to do. I don't want to be the guy reading a manual so I can tell you about it. That's not me. But anyways, finally, you got your gear video. Unfortunately for the people who are non-gear types, there's going to be a couple more, but stick around. I have some new plans, and the vlog is also coming. I'm working on getting the assets, I call them assets, my design years, getting the assets together. So basically my intro and outro and whatever else needs to be kind of put in place. I like to have my ducks in a row before I start things. So that's happening now, and we'll be ready, and I'll do my first vlog coming up soon. So probably in between this and the next camera video will be a vlog. I'll just let you know what's going on, where I'm at, some ideas I have for the summer that I want to share, and we'll go from there. So yeah, thank you for sticking with me through this long-winded and probably excruciatingly boring for most of you video of my gear, but some of you did ask what I use to create my videos. If you want me to kind of show you a little more about what I use for editing, I can get into that. Again, I'm no expert. I know enough to be dangerous, and that's about it. So, thanks for watching. Click the like button if you are still awake, and the subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. And if you need to be woken up every time I post a new video, click the little bell icon, and I will talk to you all soon. Thank you, and have a good night.
It's like working with a monkey.